Sports presents Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
Another episode of Benning Bites. I don't even know why I said it like that, but hey, appreciate you fine folks being a part of what we're doing here over at Hurrdat Sports, in particular Coffee and Cream and Benning Bites, coming off a Big East tournament in which expect the unexpected. Creighton, Villanova, man, a lot to it. And I'm just thinking to myself, for you fine folks out there, we've talked a lot the last, probably 5-6 weeks about, emotional, kind of like situational awareness. What outside of physical talent helps you achieve conquests, whether you're at work or at home or, in the playing arena. What if it's just not about actual talent? How much does emotion, kind of having a plan, being organized, what does all that other stuff mean? Because all that stuff really is, in fancy terms, it's your culture. It's what are you about other than the actual product that gives you an edge. And sometimes I think we go through these spurts. It's like, man, I'm downplaying this. Just give me better players. Or, man, we have good players if we only had this. And I think about, Nebraska football or Creighton basketball. Creighton basketball, this was the first year in a long time where Creighton had lofty expectations, a lot of good players. And so if you were on the side of, man, we just need a few better players, well, there's something to that, right? I mean, you have to be able to keep folks in check, to keep egos in play, to have perpetuate a culture in which people understand roles. You have to be a great communicator. Now, that's not to say I would rather do it with lesser players that would hang on my every word quicker because they're not as talented, right? There's always kind of the give and take. If you're a team that lost 8 games by 1 score or less, and you couldn't get over the hump, and you'd say, oh, man, it's not about talent. All we need is this belief factor, the stop checking of the rearview mirror. I always like to ask the question, stay fluid and don't be so absolute in terms of resolutions, because sometimes it just depends on what your team needs, but there are a few non-negotiables before you even start the leadership position. Number one, it is a clear and well-defined set of expectations. Hey, this is what we believe in. This is what we were about. This is how it will be, regardless of any side chatter and explanations. Number two, I have to be able to convey in a position of leadership that I have your best interest at heart. So that's kind of a fancy way for saying trust. You have to trust me. You have to know that what I'm saying isn't self-serving and it's about more than me in order for you to buy in. If you can start with those couple of things, I think you give yourself a chance. So when we're looking at, building this football program and turning the roster around, what Creighton's been able to do or hasn't been able to do, Omaha baseball, just some of these programs that we kind of gravitate towards. I use Omaha baseball just because I think they're going to be pretty good this year, and Evan Porter's done a good job of the culture piece, and he's got a lot of different options that he can play with, a lot like Will Bolt, who a year ago, remember, didn't always strike me as the type of guy that loved coaching that team. What did he spend a concerted amount of the off-season doing? Hey, let's hang out. Let's talk to one another. Let me figure out where you guys are coming from so you can better understand where we're trying to go and where I'm coming from. Well, I think that stuff matters. So don't undersell it. You just have to take it kind of in increments. It's not always the end-all, be-all, and it's not just because it's in the off-season or just because it's in the postseason. You have to kind of take it in stride because at the end of the day, it all matters. It's what we want. It's what you strive for in your own house. I mean, don't you want clear, defined expectations, rules, boundaries? Don't you want to be able to have open dialogue with folks just so we can share ideas in terms of what's happening in my life and what isn't? No different in the sports arena. Just because you factor in the word talent doesn't make it a negotiable. It's still a non-negotiable. We'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. Make sure you stay tuned for Coffee and Cream, ESPN 590. We'll be at KFOR in Lincoln at 9. We'll recap some of the state tournament. We'll talk, obviously, college hoops, free agency, right? Are you a collusion person? Do you believe it's nonsense? How about recalibrating the quarterback market? How far would you trade up? What kind of draft picks would you give up? We'll get to that. And with baseball right around the corner and the Frozen Four, we got to talk baseball and hockey. We're the whole kit and caboodle. It's like a full Jimmy buffet. We'll give it to you. Give my man Andrew Rogers a follow. He's at Andrew Rogers TV. I'm at Damon Benning. It is Coffee and Cream, and in particular, this one, it's Benning Bites.